everyone, and welcome to Seriously Loco, the Seriously Crazy fan podcast for El Paso Locomotive FC, a proud member of the Beautiful Game Network and brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Icarus FC. I'm your host, Phil Bakke, and tonight I'm joined by Mikka Burrell. Mikka, how's it going?
It's going well. Sipping on a gin and tonic, just enjoying Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, I've joined you in that. Just a beer over here, but yeah, it post win, it just feels it's just the right vibe.
You got to do it. I hand picked the mint leaves, sliced up some strawberry.
Excuse me.
No, but I'm good, Phil. I'm good.
That's awesome. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. And as such, we had a little bit of scheduling stuff, people get busy, lives are happening. So we had a cool opportunity to bring on a special guest. And tonight we're joined by Kevin Quintana of the KCQ Network and El3 Online. Kevin, how's it going, man?
How's it going, Phil? Mikka, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, I'm really, really stoked. This is a great opportunity to talk Locomotive, and you can dig right in and let's get it. And no alcohol for me yet. I wasn't memoed that we were going to be drinking. So
we'll got you next time.
Yeah, next time. No, Kevin. I mean, we kind of been there since day one, ever since we started covering Locomotive, the inaugural game, all that stuff, just been in the press box. Now the dugout, I guess, is more so the press area right now. Yeah. But no, Kevin, you've been covering Locomotive since the early days.
Yeah, exactly. Day one, we've been there ever since they announced that we were going to be getting a USL team. That's where I kind of just decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to start doing the coverage and try to get as much news as possible. Try to build up the excitement around getting an actual soccer team here in El Paso. And then after we had the El Paso Patriots. And it had been such a long time since we had anything like that. So since day one, since they announced it, and going forward to yesterday's game, we've been there. And
it's always a pleasure covering alongside you, and cool to have you on the show now because we've got an amazing performance to talk about here. Locomotive showing their very best in this match against Indy 11. So for those of you finding us for the first time, we're Seriously Loco, and you can find us on socials at Seriously Loco, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us, and then you can find the show itself on all major podcast platforms. And subscribe, follow, whatever the platform allows. Check us out there, and you can get all our new episodes straight to your device of your choice. But, guys, I mean, diving right into this game, the 2-0 win over Indy. This one, I mean, Mikka, we kind of talked about it on the last episode. This was kind of a weird one because when it's East versus West, we don't have a lot of context, a lot of history between the teams. We're not really sure how people are going to show up. We talked last episode, maybe this isn't a barometer for the season, but the amount of East Coast bias that exists within USL itself, and that Eastern Conference, Eastern Conference lean that exists, does this performance by Locomotive do anything to smash that narrative?
Ooh, that's a good. I don't know about smash the narrative, just because I think a lot of the Eastern Conference lead maybe comes from the fact that a lot of those clubs are, pretty well established soccer hubs, if you will, as far as the United States is concerned anyway. So I don't know if it smashes it, but I think we're well on our way to showing, the best of the West. And I would argue we are the best in the West, to be honest, at this current moment. I think the table certainly shows that. As I said this morning, good morning to all supporters of the only undefeated team in the West.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it certainly moves the needle in favor of the West. I still think it's not a huge barometer of the future. I don't know that we can extrapolate too much from this, but I mean, you got to take a great performance when you can. Doesn't matter who it's against, and against a team like Indy 11, who are a stalwart, in the East, it's something to be proud of. And I know we'll get into it, but I just don't think Indy really showed their best. I think the circumstances, maybe the heat, the elevation, the fact they got in late, like all those things might have played in our favor, but at the end of the day, the football was magnificent.
And Kevin, I mean, you talked from being there on the sidelines. This performance has got to be up there among one of Locomotive's finest performances in their 3-year history.
I can't place another game that we've had, even in playoffs, or that I could say, hey, like, this tops it. Like this match tops every performance that we've had so far. They were clean. They were well connected. I mean, overall, just everything worked out so well for them. And like you said, there could have been a lot of factors to Indy 11 playing the way they did, but just the performance itself was just magnificent. Like, I had never seen them so confident on the pitch. Usually you'll see a little bit of lack of confidence in the beginning, or something towards the end where they're a little gassed out. But yesterday they just looked solid 100%, like throughout the entire match, which was great.
Yeah, I think that was certainly like what stuck out to me, is just how consistent and how dominant they were for the entire 90 minutes. And that was what I said, like, at full time, was easily the most complete performance that Locomotive has ever had. Because I think even in the games where I think back in some of the big score lines or like, games where we really like hung one on somebody, like what was it, 4-0 or 4-1 against Portland Timbers 2 in the first season, and just like some of these moments that stick out. But there was no game where we were that completely dominant and where I felt so assured that there was no route back into the game for Indy. So yeah, it was extremely encouraging. And guys, it kind of started with the lineup. And Kevin, I mean, with this lineup, that once it was released, obviously the big things that stuck out initially were the return of Logan Ketterer back in goal. Right. Then Meshach Jerome and Nick Ross both back in the starting lineup. Those 3 returns to the starting lineup had to make you feel they're those type of players that just make you feel comfortable at the beginning of a game.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it. Logan's presence was definitely known. I mean, the fans were just super excited to see him back on the pitch. And then I'm pretty sure that's also a boost of confidence coming back from playing in MLS and the results that he gave out in MLS. I mean, I'm pretty sure he came back with the guys and just told them, hey, like, we got so much to look forward to. And then of course, Nick Ross, definitely one of the more tenured performers out there. So having him out there, just kind of directing things as well. And then Meshach Jerome is just a beast in the back line. Like, there's no doubt about that. So yeah, like, that's definitely a boost of confidence. But the one thing that I really thought that stood out of that lineup is having Diego Luna once again. I was like, see how he works with the, different people. And he was just great. That was awesome.
And I will pass that over now to Mikka. The Dylan and Diego in the starting lineup together was not something that I think we really anticipated, although we may have seen a little bit of it towards the end of the match against Bold when Dylan came on shortly before Diego got subbed off there at the end of that game. This combination, we weren't exactly sure how it would look in practice, but I think with the hindsight of the match now, this link up and having both of those kind of dynamic playmakers on the field is definitely something different for Locomotive, and it was extremely effective.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think, Phil, to be fair, you had said at the end of our last episode that it might not always be that Luna comes in for Midas necessarily. And what do you know? The very next match we get both of them on the team sheet, and I was wondering, is this going to be like a Christmas tree? Like, are they both 10s? Like, are they just going to interchange? And I think they found a really nice balance. In fact, I think Mars was kind of like a trap for the opposite side. I think they were really game planning for him because he was more surrounded and Diego was in a lot of space a lot of times. I think they just could not handle his movement, and really they had nothing. I don't know how much you could really scout on Diego. He's not been, in these higher levels ever. And so I thought that Dylan really pulled players away from him and gave him space. And what do you know? He has a man of the match performance. So, I mean, the combination certainly worked on the night. Now you've got 90 plus minutes of film on these two, right? So we'll see kind of what that means over the rest of the season. But I thought it was encouraging that they didn't appear to be getting in each other's way, and in fact were complimenting each other a lot.
That was something that really stuck out to me, and Kevin, you can comment on this as well. That combination is something where it did feel like maybe both players would try to occupy the same spaces, but there seemed to be a really good connection between them in that they would, when one would make a run in behind, someone would drop off to make themselves available for the ball. They were linking up with each other really well, and they had that awareness of each other where it just seemed like kind of that unspoken connection where two players are just kind of feeding off each other and creating, whether it's space or playing the right pass or whatever the choice was. They just were two players making the right decisions in the right moments constantly throughout this match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was no point in time where you would see them confused, or you would see them like, hey, they're telling each other, hey, move more back, or, kind of step away a little bit. But yeah, no, absolutely. And the fact that Diego was all over the place. Like, he was in the back line, he was running back and forth. Like, that guy has an engine. Like Mikka was telling me yesterday, this guy has an engine. And the fact that, yeah, they were definitely going on Mars a lot more. He for a little bit, he just kind of non-existent, but once he got the ball and, that had that connection with Diego, it was just working really well.
The way that we've broken down these matches, like as we get into the match review itself, is we've talked about the good, talked about the bad, or maybe not even the bad, but the what's uncertain. This match, it's a little bit tough to break it up. Like, there's a lot of good and maybe not much else to, in terms of the uncertain. So, I mean, Mikka, it all starts with that quick start right at the beginning of the match. And we've talked about how Locomotive sometimes kind of stumble out of the gates, grow into games, all of this. How refreshing is a second-minute goal from Nick Ross?
Oh, I mean, I think I was still trying to set my iPad up and give Derek shit about not having water in the dugout. I was still trying to get in the game myself, and all of a sudden we score. So I mean, can't complain with a fast start like that. We're getting kind of a penchant for these fast starts. So I'm a big fan of that. The goal itself is really interesting for a lot of different reasons. I mean, one, I think it is Diego who finds Mikka making that overlapping run into acres of space for the cross. He makes the cross. Lucho is so smart to duck. You would think a striker like him is I'm going to take this. And he knows that Nick's behind him in space at that near post, and he's able to kind of give him, let the ball pass through him, kind of like a dummy, but in the air. Yeah. And then Nick's finish is... I mean, what do you even say about that? Off the crossbar and down and in, and just beautiful. And actually, I'm still trying to figure out, the angle is not super friendly, but is it a volley or is it a half volley? Because it almost I think it takes another bounce before he hits it, bouncing up. And I mean, either way, to have the control and the accuracy with a bouncy ball like that is fantastic, and the touch helps as well.
It was in the build-up a Dylan to Diego, out to Mikka, ball in, for the assist for Nick. And I think that was the thing that really caught me out and maybe set the tone for the whole game, Kevin. Like the fluency and the fluidity of that move right out of the gate. The team was clicking and they just didn't stop from there.
I think it stunned Indy to their core. The fact, like you said, the fluidity of the entire play. And because they were continuously doing it and every single time they got into the box, and it was just unfortunate that we only scored 2 goals when it could have easily been a lot more. That stunned them really badly because they didn't know who to protect. Like they didn't know who to block. They didn't know who to go to because the ball was just moving. And so that's something that, like I said, really stood out because in these past games with the fast starts, they tend to kind of slow down. And yesterday they just kept it going. And so it was hard for Indy to tell who am I going to have to chase now and who's going to end up with that ball and eventually end up in the net. And same thing happened with Diego's goal once we got to that second goal as well. But yeah, Nick Ross's goal really gave something for Indy to think about with for future games as well. Because that speed of how quickly they scored, it was just ridiculous.
And Mikka, I think we talked in a recent episode about how at times Locomotive were looking a little bit indecisive, especially when they're playing passes in midfield and maybe giving the ball away a little bit cheaply. This match, like I think we were talking in the Slack just about how it was going and how it was playing out. Like these players were hammering the ball into feet and like playing really decisive passes. Everyone was really sharp, really crisp. And it just showed in how much they were moving Indy around and how much Indy were chasing the ball, chasing ghosts really, because players were occupying good space and then, being found by a crisp pass into feet.
Yeah, it's like when you hold down the R1 in FIFA and you smash the ball, but we were doing that with every pass.
Yeah.
or so it felt. I mean, you hear about ruthless goal scoring, but I mean, I didn't know that you could be ruthless with your passing, and that's exactly what we were on the night. I mean, the passing was like Kevin kind of touched on, moving the players around, moving the opposition around in a way that they kind of lost track of who their man was, while simultaneously exhausting them. I mean, Indy was gassed by about, I would say the 50th minute, very early into the second half. I think they had kind of given up. And I think that had a lot to do with our possession game because they were just chasing all night long. And when it came time to defend around the edge of their area, they just wouldn't get close to any of their men because they had just been chasing for a 30 pass sequence or whatever. So, just really good. A stark contrast from the passing and the slack midfield performances that we saw in Kansas, for example, at Sporting. And it got better. It got better in Austin, but again, we were hemmed in there. So you couldn't tell that this team had come off a 2-game road swing. I mean, to 100-degree heat, to play a team they'd never seen before. Like it was just dominant. I don't know how else to describe it other than dominant.
The stats at the end of the game, Locomotive completed 516 passes in this match. Wow. 254 of them were in Indy's half of the field. So about 50% of the passes that Locomotive completed were actually in the attacking half, which is not the ratio that we typically see from Locomotive. We more often see more defensive half passes completed. But it was just one of those. It was one of those matches, and I think it speaks for itself. They created 17 chances, which is obviously extremely high for Locomotive, and a couple of big chances as well. So, the creation, the link up play was there for all to see. But Kevin, you've already touched on it, and we were always going to talk about and maybe focus on this player in particular, Diego Luna, on a night where Nick Moon also featured for Indy 11, Luna won out over Moon easily.
Yeah, no, their Moon was non-existent, and they're down there at the dugout, like the fans just kept booing Moon. It was ridiculous. It was hilarious,
Yeah.
and it was bad, and you could tell like it was getting under his skin. Like he looked so lost, like his concentration went out the door after that. Like it was awesome.
I wanna actually like spend some time on this because this is like a very random thing to happen, but was there any like reason that they targeted him, or was it just he was playing on that side of the field?
I assume it was because he was on that side of the field, and I think his name stuck out. Maybe a couple people saw.
Yeah. But they were giving it to him all night. I mean, I thought it was just like a one-off, but then I kept hearing it. It was from the same like group of gentlemen right by the dugout, and it was just beautiful. And I mean, the one that really killed me was when they're coming out for the second half, and this guy just goes, "Moon, welcome back." Like he was, and it's funny because like he's giving it to Moon, and Moon is the person that Indy is trying to force the ball to. So It's just like he was the target in more ways than one, and it just was not working out for him. So, I mean, our celestial.
That's yeah, I mean, Kevin, we had Diego Luna obviously makes the big impact against Austin Bold, and then we were all kind of questioning on the pod, like, okay, well, it's he had a good game, he was pretty good, but does he get another start? We don't want to burn him out. 17 years old, we're not really sure, like fitness wise, like where he's going to be at. He's not fully developed. All these things. He comes out, second goal, 2 games in a row now, and absolutely bossed the midfield for Locomotive. Playing like as at Cool Fernie said on Twitter, Luna is the real deal Holyfield.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I was, like you said, I was one of those that were like, hey, you know what? Maybe he had a good breakout, and let's see what he does. Maybe subbing him in. It was unexpected for him to start, especially with a team that you don't know or you don't have a clear idea of how they're going to perform against a team, East and West. And so the fact that coach gave him that opportunity to show out what he did prior to this game, I was like, that was surprising for me. So I honestly didn't think he was going to start. But I'm happy he did. I'm happy he showed out the entire time he was on until he got subbed off, because he gassed himself out, at the very end. And you could tell, like, it wasn't more of an injury. It was more like, hey, I'm tired. I need to get out. But yeah, absolutely. It was astonishing what he did. And I don't have a doubt in my mind that he's going to be a starter for the rest of the season, or a majority of the time, because he can play.
Yeah, I think, and that was the tweet at full time for me as well. It was just like, he is a grown ass man. Like, despite the fact that he's 17, he plays like a grown ass man. He's straight up like, he can hang at this level and excel at this level. And I know it's 2 games in. I know it's a small sample size, a long way to go, long career ahead of him. But the way, I mean, you watch him play, and Mikka, I think we've talked about this. Like, he just doesn't look out of place. He doesn't look daunted at all. And he looks like he absolutely belongs.
No, some of his opponents look out of place next to him. I mean, what can be said about this kid that hasn't already been said? He's been absolutely phenomenal. Like you said, small sample size. But I mean, if we let's say this performance, I mean, I'm happy to say he was man of the match. Stats bear that out. The goal, and I think what really strikes me too about him is, and Kevin brought it up briefly, is how he was all over the place in a good way, doing his defensive duties and all that. But I like that he doesn't seem selfish. I think a lot of times young players can, maybe take that extra touch, try to dribble past that one last man, really try to stand out. And his decision making to me is what stands out. That, you know, he'll play the pass off. He'll try to put somebody else through, and then if the opportunity presents itself and if it's appropriate, then he'll shoot. I like that. I think that's a really good trait to have as a young player, because, you know, I mean, you can certainly learn to be more, you know, more selfless as your career goes on, but I think it's good to start that way to be fair, and not try to undo bad habits. And you know, when we spoke to Diego, he said he's got a lot of good role models here, and I think Christian pointed out to us that actually, and you know, it makes a lot of sense now that, you know, Diego told us he really looks up to Richie. Well, apparently per Drew Becky, it's Richie Ryan who kind of, you know, scouted him and found him. So, I mean, Richie just cementing himself as a legend at the club, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think the thing that stuck out to me was obviously, you know, the goal, the pass. We'll talk about all that stuff, but the thing that really sticks out to me, and Kevin, you know, you can let me know if this resonates with you, but like, when he would receive the ball in midfield, even when he was under pressure from maybe multiple Indy players, he would make a decision that led to us retaining the ball, which I think like is an underrated trait for a young player, because he might take a riskier decision or something like that. But a couple of times he turned in traffic and was able to run past people, or he laid the ball off, like chose a little bit safer option. But he didn't give the ball away hardly at all. And in fact, he actually ends the game with 4 ball recoveries, meaning he's tracking back and tackling people and winning the ball back for us. So, yeah, Diego's decision making, not only in an attacking sense, but he's making good decisions in that midfield too, and linking up well.
Yeah, you're not seeing a 17-year-old play. Not taking away from, you know, other 17-year-olds that might have, you know, extreme talent and go places, but like you said, there was a grown ass man out there. He was definitely, like, those decisions were on point, spot on, and the fact that chances were being created out of majority of his passing was what really stands out. And like I said, he's got a lot of role models, a lot of, you know, more veteran players on the team. And shout out to Richie Ryan for finding him, because he's definitely bringing up morale in the squad. And I'm pretty sure everybody's kind of, you know, giving him tips and tricks here and there. And that's probably what's a big factor to him playing the way he does. So I agree.
We saw in the goal, Mikka, we see he pulls up from shallow center field and lets fly. A little bit of a hopeful hit, and he gets a little luck with the deflection. But this is the type of thing that we've kind of wanted from Locomotive in terms of, like, when that opportunity opens up and he turns into that space and he has the opportunity to shoot, he takes it. Like, rather than second guessing and making an extra pass or something like that, he sees his opportunity and takes it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have some players in this lineup, to be fair, who would take the extra pass instead of trying something. And again, I mean, he interprets that space really well. I think it's probably one of his teammates it might have been Dylan actually pulling players away from that space so that he could have that. And he isolates, I think it was Timmer. And they don't step out to close him down, because this is when they start to fade, really, for me, Indy 11, in terms of just energy levels. And you know, no one steps out, no one tries to close him down, and he takes that shot. And yeah, the deflection's lucky, but still the intent is clear to see. And man, the noise in the swap with that one and the celebration was very classy too. So I mean, just what a player. I don't know what else to say. Like, I was holding my breath, man, every time he would get on the ball, because it really felt like something was going to happen every time. You know, there's few players like that, you know, in general, and he's a special one.
That's the questions that have come out of this from Twitter. At STHS Football asks, have the Loco sign Diego to a 2-year deal? And if so, how much is the release clause? Kevin, I know. So Mikka's weighed in on the potential fee. Kevin, I mean, if Diego were to leave, how much are Locos charging for him?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know, man. At this point, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, if we're gonna release him, we better get a good amount. We better get some Ronaldo money at this point, you know. Come on, if this kid's gonna be scoring every other game and just performing the way he does, we better get some Ronaldo money for that. Right? Definitely.
Mikka, you had a destination and a price tag that you assigned.
Oh, I mean, in this market, it's gotta be at least 100 million pounds because I need that exchange rate. So Papa Flo, Real Madrid, someone want to come in, like that's, you need to open with that as a bid. We're not talking.
Yeah, no, Diego.
He's got some decisions to make.
That's right.
I mean, if we're talking Real Madrid, you're telling me that this kid is not worth as much as Eden Hazard? Come on. Easy.
That'd be pretty scandalous, though, now that I think about it, having come through the Barca residency program.
Oh,
yes.
true.
That is true.
Yeah, he would have to head for Barca.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're known to chuck a hefty fee at an attacking midfielder. So, Philippe Coutinho, vibes, but no.
Yeah.
No, Diego, unbelievable performance. The goal itself, and Kevin, I mean that goal when it does go in, the reaction of the players. I think just in terms of that mentorship and everything, the reaction of the players when he scores is. We saw it at Austin Bold, and we see it again. They are almost as excited that he's scoring and thriving in this team right now as he is.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Like they genuinely look happy, and of course, without a doubt, when you score a goal, you're super excited. But the level of respect that this kid is gaining, and from his teammates, you can tell that they're eventually, at some point, maybe even depending on him to score. Like that's how you can tell. And yeah, they were extremely happy, and the crowd was wild. It was great. I think even the fact when they announced at the beginning of the match, who's going to be in the starting lineup, Diego Luna came up, and the crowd went wild even from then. Wow. So you could tell like they're making an impact for sure.
And he's already got some chants. Heard Eighth Notch and some others.
Yeah,
singing for him. So yeah, he was being serenaded off the pitch too when he got subbed. So I did want to answer the serious part of this question though about the length of his deal, because we were able to do a little bit of digging. Don't know if it's a 2-year deal, but we do know it is a multi-year deal. That's what we understand. So Locomotive certainly have the leverage here if someone wants to come in with an insane bid, but it seems like he'll be here at least beyond the season. So
yeah.
And then one thing I want to add on to that, which I mean could potentially happen, seeing the major changes that Bravos is doing. Tuca Ferretti, man knows what he's doing. Definitely knows what he's doing out there in Tigres, and he can come over and kind of check out, see what's good on the field and through that. So who knows? Maybe multi-year deal, and then eventually kind of move up from there. Hopefully they don't take him away too soon, but that could happen.
Yeah,
that could happen.
I mean, there's certainly worse managers to play for than Tuca. So fair enough.
That's that's crazy to think about, like potentially. I don't know. I think Diego obviously courted like offers from MLS and all this stuff in Loco's pursuit of him. There's a lot of potential destinations. I think for now, obviously happy to just see him out there for us. And I think the goal aside, like the goal is one thing, but there's one other moment in the match that I don't want to gloss over, and that is late on that pass that he makes to Josue Aron Gomez, which should be the third in all honesty. That curved ball in behind, he really has no business making that pass and seeing that run from Gomez. He has the vision, he has the ability, and he pulls it off and really should have an assist to add to his goal. But just an unreal bit of skill and one of those moments that makes you it just adds to the fact that this kid he's standing up and being counted right now as an impact player.
Yeah, I mean, I think again when you speak of young players, sometimes they can be kind of one-dimensional. Not Diego Luna. I mean, scores a goal and then just the arc, the vision on that pass. Like there is a pass that Mesut Ozil plays to Sead Kolasinac in a game for Arsenal like 2 years ago that is identical, and everyone was lauding Ozil for it. And that's Mesut Ozil, world champion, right? And this looked like that. Yeah. I mean, I know we're talking lofty heights here, but I mean, it's. I mean, I was speechless. Ask Kevin. I was sitting next to him. I mean, when he made that pass, we were all just kind of like, what? You know, and the only crime is Josue not even putting that on target. I'm sorry, man, but that's on a plate. You know, he still has to volley it, but I think we would have expected better from Gomez there, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually turned to Mikka as soon as that happened. I turned around. My reaction was like, did you see that? And I was like, oh my goodness, the pass was just incredible. And I'm glad you brought it up, because if not, I was going to, because it was great. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like he could have easily done it, but he could have easily scored. But I don't know, like I feel like he's been a little off lately, but hey, like it happens.
We actually did get a question along those lines, and I think we'll go to it now. So Gomez has been like a topic of conversation, obviously, ever since the end of last season. He went into that scoring drought, which extended into the playoffs, unfortunately. And it seems like he's having trouble crawling out of it. And at Ebao27, Eric Bauer on Twitter asked, any idea what Lowry was talking to Aron Gomez about after the game? Any reason for concern there? I have a theory, but I'm interested to know what you guys think, because Mark did pull Josue in like immediately following the final whistle and was having a conversation with him. Despite the result, despite the fist pumps towards eighth notch, all that stuff, he took the time to address Aron Gomez specifically. So I'm interested what you guys thought that conversation actually entailed.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see it. I did not realize that Mark had gone out of his way to pull him to talk to the player. I don't know if there's any reason for concern about the conversation itself, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys theorize about this. But as for Gomez's form, I mean, certainly I think that you could ask some questions. Again, we haven't played as many games as everyone else has, but, the scoring drought has gone on quite a bit. And luckily we've managed to get results despite it, but I don't know. He's just snatching at chances right now, and some of them are very clear-cut. He whiffs on a really good one against Sporting. In this one, the pass is on a plate for him and he skies it. So there's just something not clicking there. I don't know if it's fitness and then of course, he was out of out of the squad for a little bit with some administrative issue. I don't know if it could be stemming from that, but an issue with his loan that luckily got resolved. But I didn't notice that conversation taking place, and now I'm interested to hear what you guys think that was about.
I kind of slightly saw it, but I didn't pay too much attention to it because I was kind of seeing the reaction from the team and, eighth notch and everything. But I can only speculate that he was trying to cheer him up in a way. Just kind of be like, hey, like, don't worry. Like, it happens, and just keep your head up, because for a while, I mean, the guy's quiet. Like, the kid's quiet. When I've interviewed him at practice, or when we still had the chance to, talk to the players in person, he's generally quiet, very humble. So I don't know if it's maybe just a little bit of extra support to kind of keep his head up. But that's what I'm thinking it is. I wouldn't see too much concern. but eventually, like, that drought has to end at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with you guys. I don't think it's cause for concern for, like, is Gomez going to be in and around the team, because I think he is. I think he clearly is, like, one of the first choices at attacker, and obviously in this one, Mark decides to switch it up with the Diego Dillon look. But I have to think that along the same lines as you, Kevin, like, I have to think that conversation, and based on what it looked like on TV, because the camera actually did cut to Lowry talking to Gomez, like, as they were walking off, and it did seem like he was just kind of supporting it. Like, it seemed like he was just kind of trying to, like, keep his spirits up and just, hey, don't worry about it. Like, we won. It's not like there's nothing on your shoulders type thing. I think ever since that penalty in the Western Conference Finals, especially, and, like, the drought leading up to it, the missed chances, all this stuff, I think his confidence is just, like, shot right now. And I think it's going to take him, maybe it takes, like, a lucky bounce or a deflection or something like that. And just that first goal, we've seen that Gomez scores. He's kind of a streaky player. Like, if he's scoring a bunch. Like, he'll score, 5-6 games on the bounce. And that's normal for him. He just, like, he gets on a roll and he just kind of keeps going. But it works the other way too. And right now he is, like, deep in a slump that is now spanned, the better part of 2 seasons. And yeah, I think Mark is really trying to make sure that he feels the love and make sure that he feels like, he's got the backing of the team, despite the fact that he has not, had the biggest impact in games. And I got to think that he's training well, because he's obviously still in and around the team for Mark. So he's probably one of those players who's scoring hat loads in training and then just for whatever reason in the game is just not putting it in the back of the net.
I will say that I do like the fact that Mark is playing the hot hand right now and in the attack, whatever that means for our low scoring side. But I think at some point you do have to take the player out of the firing line, and Mark's done that. I think he's, from what we can tell, managed the situation well, because sometimes when it's just not happening for the player, it's worse if they play, because they just continue to snatch at chances. The questions continue to come from the media and folks like us. And I think by letting him kind of come on and maybe try to make something happen, the expectation shifts a little bit. So I trust Mark to manage that situation well, but it would be great if he could, bag one, even a dirty one, a scramble, something from a corner, a set piece, something like that. But I mean, we know he's got quality, and it's just about finding that confidence again, as you said, Phil.
So on the other end of the pitch, we had another question from the striker Texas's Mark Bay, who covers Austin Bold. He asked, "Why is y'all's defense so good?" Serious question. And Kevin, I'm interested. Why is y'all's defense so good?
I mean, there's no question about it. Like, these guys get the job done back there. There is no real flaw, unless there's, like, a minimal error that could potentially end up in goal, that we've seen a couple of times throughout the seasons, even in day one. Aside from those minor, defensive errors, majority of the time, they know where everybody's at. They have a clear vision of what they want to do, and they don't look back. They're constantly looking forward. I feel like they just align themselves so well that there's minimal room for error. And that's what makes them stand out. And the passes, you'll have some aerial passes that don't make it to where they have to go, but majority of the time, the passes going forward from the back line, they get where they need to go, and I think that's what makes them stand out really well. And when a player needs to be stopped, they stop them. and they get very, I wouldn't say lucky, but they're very good at that too. So I think that's what makes them really stand out.
I'm interested for what you think, Mikka, about what really makes this Locomotive defense so solid, and especially to start this season, they've been I mean, among the best once again in the league.
Currently the best. We've got 4 clean sheets. We lead the league. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'll start with personnel, like Kevin kind of alluded to just now. I mean, let's just talk about tonight. That night's backline: Macaulay King, Leicester City product; Mishak Jerome, Haiti international; Yuma cut his teeth at Rayo Vallecano and other teams in Spain; and El Borelli, Querétaro, Tigres, FC Juarez. I mean, these are legit players, right? I mean, and this is not even. Right now this is kind of the settled backline, but I mean, personnel makes a big difference at this level. Let's just be honest. But
sure,
I mean, with a Mark Lowry side, defense is the hallmark. Really, conceding goals is a crime at the swap, and I think we just manage the ball really well. And also, I have to point out Logan Ketter. I mean, he's such a big voice back there and so commanding in and around the area. Constantly barking orders at people, sweeps up very well. So that whole unit is just designed for success. And Mark, as a coach, is very good at transmitting his message, and I think that's clear when you see, how solid we are defensively. And yeah, I mean, just all of those things put together, I think is what's led us to so much success in that area of the pitch.
And I think so. Personnel certainly, like high quality players, has really helped. But I think what's interesting about this season, and probably what's indicative of just like how this Locomotive team defends as a unit, is the fact that for like several games this season, we obviously were missing Logan, and the last couple of games we had Matt Boehner in there for Mishak for large portions of the game, in SKC, and then obviously for the full 90 against Austin. And I think the biggest compliment to the way that this team defends is the fact that even when the personnel changes, it doesn't look significantly different. And I think the biggest thing for me to understand about this backline, and we've talked about it in the past, is that the defense itself obviously is good in those situations, and the personnel are good in these one-on-ones. I think, who was it, Wild, or that has a chance that Logan saves like down low to his right. And like
the 65th minute. Yeah,
like quality save. Obviously, like in those moments, one-on-one, or in those kind of like those chances, like we obviously rely on the quality of Logan and Yuma and Mishak in those kind of like last ditch moments. But I think more so than anything is just the level of control that we have over the course of the game. And it's that the entire team is defending, from front to back, where they're all participating in that defensive unit, and not just while the other team is attacking, but while we're in transition and while we're like they're winning the ball back, they're protecting that back line from actually facing like real threats. And that to me is like the difference between Locomotive and many USL teams, is their whole team is contributing to the overall like defense or limiting chances, or, however you want to look at it. And in this game in particular, I think you could see that Lowry and his system, like they suffocated Indy, where they could hardly get on the ball. And when they did, they had trouble. Like they were trying to play long balls over the top. And they really struggled to put anything together. And it was just because that press from front to back was just absolutely suffocating them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's one of the things that you kind of said. The individual plays that they have also mark a really big impact. Like and like I said, as a unit, It's phenomenal. But individually, everybody puts in their own 2 cents, their own grain of sand, and they just stop the teams from going forward. And that's what I really like about it. And of course, Yuma being the captain, that the man knows what he's doing. He is phenomenal with that positioning. And one of the things that I can really tell of the back line is no matter how forward they get in the box, they're still out there. Like they won't risk getting too close to for some reason the other team just takes a run for it. I mean, they're ready 100% of the time, and that's something that really stands out, and that most of these USL teams probably risk a little bit more, and then they end up conceding goals, and that's something that Locomotive does not do.
The completeness of this defensive performance brings up in a weird sideways way, it brings up our manager's fit on the night, because this side is bringing back the vibe of one Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone. And Mark on the touchline has decided to embrace that fully and try to embrace his role as the Simeone of the USL.
Solihull Simeone. Yeah, he's gone with the blackout, fit once again. And I mean, we joked about it last pod. I think Garrett Yancey had asked us, who's the European club we're most alike and why is it Atleti? Well, I mean, this game certainly shows it with not only Mark's fit, but the way that the match conditions were like the ultimate suffering, and yet somehow we played our best match ever. And Atleti are known to suffer. I mean, that they call it another way of living. They say it in Spanish, obviously, but I mean, we kind of do the same thing. In a match situation where you think that the odds are not good as far as it's fucking hot. You've just got home from a road swing, or you've gone to far-flung places like Kansas City, and you think you're going to suffer, but you come out 2-0 winners. And so, I mean, the parallels just continue, I think.
And I mean, Kevin, do you think Mark is doing this on purpose, like off the back of Atleti's La Liga win? Like, is he just trying to maintain that energy throughout the season?
He's watching replays of every single match for Atletico as we speak. I'm pretty sure of it. It's very, like you said, the conditions were ridiculous. I mean, we were in that dugout, and I'm like, I could just imagine being on the pitch for 5 minutes and I'd probably pass out. Like it was hot. And the fact that they, like you said, gave us the best performance that they've had, honestly, ever, and in those conditions, how much better can they get? How much more of better results are they going to bring after something like that? Because I even told Mikka when I first got there, she's like, so what do you think of this game? And I honestly said, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard, Eastern team, it's hot. And I honestly thought maybe a 1-0 again was probably going to be the result. And we were definitely going to struggle. 10 minutes in, and my mind changed completely. I was like, yeah, we got this. Like, it was crazy.
Catch me on the internet shit posting about how Diego Luna is better than Joao Felix.
That's bold.
And maybe a bit soon, but yeah,
a bit,
just a bit. No, Diego Luna Diego coin is flying right now
to the moon.
Well, now it's everybody's favorite segment to close out the match review.
the Seriously Loco Shithouse 11.
The Shithouse 11. Obviously, in a game like this, it's a little bit tough because Indy stopped fighting. I don't know. It was almost like, it was like a much better version of Logan Paul against Floyd Mayweather.
Oh man, I feel bad for the people that paid $50 for that. Like, come on now.
So
I'm sorry. Before we get on, what was the outcome of that? I just need to know.
So there was no winner because there was no judges, no decision. They were just there to make money.
It was complete farce.
Yes.
Okay, our game wasn't a farce. At least.
No, it wasn't a farce. But one side definitely stopped fighting at a certain point and was out of gas. So in that situation, it does get a little tough to find a shit house. I mean, did we have a shit house in this match? Did anyone cross that threshold?
Do the honors, Kevin. You got anybody?
I'm the only person I could probably say, and this is, I mean, just thinking because of everything that he was being thrown at was Moon. And because he just completely gave up. Like, he was not having it. And I mean, I don't know. That's honestly who I could put. But other than that, like you said, it's tough. It's tough.
That's funny. That's like the existential pick.
So I had said, like, before we started recording, I had said my potential choice, but I just thought of a moment that may put our man of the match into the Shithouse 11. And that was when Nikki Law was substituted for Indy 11. And Nikki Law, like, for those who don't know, Nikki Law has been playing football since Diego Luna was like an embryo. So he's played all over England, like the lower divisions, all this stuff. He was like at, oh God, I can't remember like where he was at exactly, but Mikka, yeah, Rangers,
Bradford City, Yeovil Town, Rotherham, Motherwell. Yeah. He's been around.
So he's been like all over the like English and Scottish like football pyramid. He's played everywhere. He's seen everything, and he's getting subbed off. And Diego Luna like fist bumps him on his way off the pitch. Like, he just got done like destroying this man for 90 minutes or for however many, like 65 minutes. And he fist bumps him like as he goes off. It was like, nice one. And I just thought, I know that Diego meant well, like in that. I took it as such like a snide, like, I just absolutely bossed you. Like, you couldn't get near me.
Butted.
Yeah.
in a nice way.
That's funny. I like that.
Hey, good one, man. Like, nice one. I got you.
I like that a lot. I like that. Yeah, no, I think that might actually beat my pick, which would be Coffee. The Ghanaian midfielder had a torrid time. Locomotive's midfield just setting all kinds of traps for him. He gets carded. He loses the ball quite a bit. And he was visibly frustrated with himself and with the game state, and definitely started, putting in some existential tackles, trying to get sent off. I think he wanted that early shower. And I don't blame him because it was so hot, as we've harped on all night long. But he's a shout for me. But I think I like Diego trolling Nikki Law just a little bit more.
Well, and I mean, he would be the youngest ever member of the Shithouse 11. So this would be
just
another
records every day.
Another milestone for this young man. Just continuing to impress.
Ronaldo money. That's where it's going.
Yeah, Diego coin to the moon. And
invest today.
And Locomotive headed up towards the top of the Mountain Division. Obviously, still very early, but taking a look at the table as it stands, Locomotive jump up to second on 11 points and have a game in hand over RGV, who sit on 13. So Winning that game in hand would take Locomotive top of the table and in a really good position through 6. But in order to do so, they've got Colorado Springs coming up. So we'll have the match preview for you after a quick break. Welcome back. We're looking down a matchup against Colorado Springs Switchbacks coming up here in the USL. Little bit of an odd team, Colorado Springs. They've got a lot of excitement around them in that they've got this new stadium. Obviously, this match is in El Paso, so we don't get to visit Widener Field yet. But this match against Colorado Springs, historically, Locomotive's done pretty well, and to say the least, Colorado Springs, a little bit of a mixed bag of results. A couple of bad losses, a good win over a team that actually Locomotive drew against in Sporting KC. But then this wild 1-1 draw against San Antonio FC where both teams were down to 10 and all that. So, I mean, I guess the overall message for Colorado Springs, or the overall like theme around Colorado Springs, is this team is a little bit of an enigma.
I think that's fair to say. I mean, there's really no like overarching narrative when you look at this gaggle of results that they've had. I can't really find too many patterns, except for maybe the fact that their defending is not good. One of the worst in the division and in the conference. And one thing too that I did notice is that they haven't really settled on a starting goalkeeper. Abraham Rodriguez, Andrew Pannenberg, and Sean Melvin have all seen minutes. So maybe we could take advantage of that relative instability, I guess you could say. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but you know, that rotation in goal, you usually think there's a number 1 and number 2. Seems to not be the case for Colorado, so I think maybe that's where kind of the defensive issues might stem from is that relative instability. So, bottom of the mountain division, Haji Berry carrying the attacking burden with 4 goals, and you know, taking all the shots and all that kind of thing, and not much help around him that I can glean. So, I think Colorado Springs will be coming to El Paso just wanting not to lose.
You mentioned Haji Berry, and he made the move over from North Carolina FC in the summer, formerly of Orlando City, and he spent some time kind of around USL and a couple of different, a little stint in Israel as well, which seems like a pretty popular USL destination, I guess, for whatever reason, but yeah, he makes the move from North Carolina FC, and he is the player in form as it stands. The Ghanaian, four appearances, 4 goals so far for Colorado Springs. So Haji Berry definitely the danger man for the Switchbacks.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, he might have been one of the players we called out in like our division preview. And I might have had questions about whether that goal scoring would translate from east to west, but so far it has. He just needs a little bit more help around him. But again, I mean, Kevin pointed it out in the break. Our record is pretty good against Switchbacks. I don't think we've ever lost. Is that right, Kevin?
That's correct. Yeah, we haven't lost against them.
I think it's what, 4 wins, 2 draws. I mean, not bad.
Yeah, it seems like one of those games where we often come in like fairly confident. I don't know if do you think, Kevin, that this is like a mental edge that Locomotive have over Switchbacks, like having that solid like history now built against this team? Do you think they come in with an advantage mentally?
I mean, honestly, you could say so, because I mean, going back with the history that they haven't lost, maybe the couple draws maybe give a little boost of confidence, but the inconsistency that I'm seeing from these last games that they've had, I don't think they know how to come into this game, and they're not going to come in as confident as you would imagine they would against Locomotive. But Yeah, and like just the fact that, like you said, we've had their goalies all get minutes. I think they're just trying to really find their form, and I don't think they're going to do so well, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Mikka. Defensively, some big struggles so far from them. 2 games where they've conceded 3. Just the 1 clean sheet against Sporting Kansas City, and it just hasn't. There hasn't been that just any sort of, I don't know. It seems like to me, despite all the change, all the turnover in the roster, this feels kind of like same old Switchbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It might have something to do with their finances, to be fair, because they, of course, have that brand new shiny stadium, and that probably cost them a pretty penny on top of COVID-19. So I don't know if they were able to reinforce the way they wanted to. Poor Switchbacks, man. I feel like they really are like the punch you back in like the West sometimes. Of us, of Phoenix, of New Mexico, and all that. I will say, I feel like a lot of our, if memory serves, a lot of our which have been thanks to Marcelo, and obviously he is no longer with us. So I wonder who steps up and shows out against him or against them.
Well, as we talk about the lineup, obviously we spent quite a bit of time on Diego Luna, but Kevin at Yancey 1389 on Twitter said, how can Luna be left out of the 11 after his performances? I don't know that we're really worried about Luna being left out. It seems like he's probably going to be in and around the team.
The only thing I can say is if he does get left out, is just not to tire him out with a team that maybe Coach Laurie knows that they can do well without Luna being on the pitch for so long. That's the only thing I could see him being either subbed in at a certain point, just not to tire him out. That's the only excuse that I could see him not starting. But other than that, we're definitely going to see him on the pitch for sure. I mean, yeah, there's really not another player, especially with that defensive struggle that it's being clear, it's evident. You're going to want to get probably your best player right now to just dominate that defensive line. So yeah, I don't see them like leaving him out whatsoever.
Mikka, going Wednesday to Saturday, obviously quick turnaround for Locomotive, benefiting from the fact that they are at home again. So, makes it maybe a little bit easier without the travel in between. But with just that 3-day turnaround, not just Diego, but I mean, how much rotation do you think we'll see from Mark? Do you think he'll try to ride the wave? Or, I mean, having played in 100-degree heat, do you think he makes some changes and we see a little bit of a change side out there for Switchbacks?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be even hotter on Saturday. So, oh my God, if you're listening to this, hydrate. I know we like to have a couple drinks before the game, but just be careful, all right? Because it's going to be hot as fuck. So rotation, I think we're gonna need some. I think especially in the midfield. I think it would be smart to do so because again, that's Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. That's a lot of matches piling up on us here. So I think midfield needs to see a little bit of changes. I don't know about Luna. That's kind of it's hard to justify dropping him with how he's playing. Given the goal scoring and just how influential he's been. But I think I'd like to see Jose Aguinaga come back in. I think I liked the start from him in Kansas, but I think he just needs to get a little bit more match fluency, and I think he can really offer something. So if anyone comes in, I hope it's him. I think Apodaca hasn't really had an opportunity yet really to show what he can do, so maybe there's an opportunity there for him. And like we said, Gomez, it might still be a case of just letting him sit out a little bit more and taking him out of that spotlight. But yeah, I would hope there's some rotation because it's been pretty hectic.
Yeah, I think the way that I don't want to necessarily speculate because I know people will be upset probably if Diego doesn't start, but I think seeing the way that Mark handled Dylan early on, where he actually pulls him back for the Austin game and then introduces this like Dylan Diego attack that we saw in the last game. I think it could be a very real situation that he does pull Diego back because of the quick turnaround to the bench and goes with someone like Gomez up top. Similarly to what we've seen, goes Gomez, Solonyak, and Mahrez, given the fact that Dylan played the 30 and just the 30 minutes in Austin, and then played obviously from the start yesterday. So I think it's very likely that we see Dylan. I think Diego 3 days after the last game, it might be a little quick, but obviously he's shown that he's got the fitness. He can hang in there, and he's certainly he's certainly fit. We're not really concerned about that, but just a matter of, I think Mark is going to be managing some minutes, and and then in midfield, I'd expect to see some changes. I think the one area where I don't think we'll likely see any rotation is in that back line. Although the one thing that we didn't mention, and this is a little bit of a random thing from the first game, but Matt Boehner got some like late minutes at right back for Mikka, and in this game against Indy, and there were a couple of times that he was getting down the sideline, and I was like, oh, okay, like he could play right back.
We have not given him the attention that perhaps he deserves. But I mean, to be fair, he's not played a whole bunch, but in the times that he's come in this season, he's been very good.
At multiple positions as well.
At multiple positions, center back, right back. I mean, yeah, he's been a bit of a Swiss Army knife back there. So I mean, props to Matt. We need to pay a bit more attention to him, clearly.
Because that was one of the things I was thinking, like between Eder, Borelli, and Mikka King, I thought maybe we start to get close to that line, Kevin, of like they're up and down the touch line, they're tracking back, they're getting forward, like those guys. Maybe with a 3-day turnaround, we see someone come in for them.
Yeah, no, Matt Boehner will be the perfect fit for that. Like you said, we haven't really, there hasn't been much attention to Matt Boehner. Me personally, I see the work ethic that he's putting, but like I said, it's just one of those things where the attention is somewhere else, and it's usually in the attack on who's coming in and all that. But that's one of the things with the back line. It's so solid. Whoever you put, it stays solid. So, but that'd probably be the only change that you could probably see back there. But Matt Boehner is definitely doing some solid work.
Yeah, there was a couple of touches that he took, and he like went past some people on the right hand side, and I was like, "Who is this man?" Like he fills in at center back, does a really great job in Austin. When he came in for Mishak in SKC as well, and oversees those games. But I'm thinking like, oh, okay, he's filling in well at center back. Does a job back there. Certainly see that. And I know Mark had mentioned him as a fullback option and as a right back option. And it wasn't until the game against Indy where he was like dribbling past people. I'm like, I thought he was like a fill-in center back sort of option. And it turns out he's actually like a legit option at right back. Like, I think I said in the Slack, like, is he actually Marcelo? Like,
we had Daniel Alves all along.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'd expect, as far as, is it Diego that rotates? Is it someone else? I think Mark is constantly like very attuned to who needs the rotation, like who needs the rest. And so I do think we'll see some. I think it's a little bit interesting, like who it's going to be and where Mark sees those opportunities to manage some minutes. We do have almost a full week off before the following game against Real Monarchs, so we have some time in between, this upcoming game and the next. But it is a little bit. This is a little bit of a congested period, so I'd expect to see some changes. On the less serious side of this match preview, we got a question from @Saul Soto EPTX said, should Logan wear a camo kit? And if so, should he have to also wear eye black smeared on his face? #Rambo. Would we see?
Why not?
Do you think we would see a camo kit, Adidas camo kit from Logan?
I mean, Logan's with it, and honestly, for all that man has done for us, he can wear whatever the hell he wants.
I guess, do we do the pick'em? Like,
we gotta ask Kevin his pick'em.
Right.
We'll do ours, but obviously
Yeah.
we can't update the tables when Christian's back. But Kevin, we want to know though, like, because we always put each other on the spot on the show. So, what do you think against Colorado Springs? Give us a scoreline and a goal scorer.
Scoreline and a goal scorer. Because of the fact that I strongly feel he's going to start, and for some reason I'm just having this hunch that he's going to start, Leandro Carrijo is going to score.
Ooh.
And I'm calling a 3-0 win.
3-0. Wow.
Nice.
Love it. Phil?
Well, after last match, so I have now looking at the spreadsheet, I have guessed that Josue Aron Gomez will score 3 out of the 4 games. So now that I've taken that information in and seeing that, I'm not going to guess him because I'm certain that he will score, as long as I do not guess that he will score. So my guess, I'm going to guess, I'll stick with the 2-0. I think we can maybe build on a 2-0 with another 2-0. But I'm going to say Brian Rebellon scores. And that way, all the attackers are out of the equation. Like, I've only jinxed Brian because I am never correct. So, like, I've only jinxed him, and all of our other goal scorers are options right now.
That was a bold one. Definitely.
Western Conference Final vibes.
Oh, man. All right. My turn, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 2-0. Make it another clean sheet. Why not? I thought we might concede against Indy, but obviously that was not the case. So I'll go back to 2-0. I think Lucho had a really good game, but no goal to show for it. So I think he will score this time. I think I guessed him last time too, so I'm just gonna keep going with that.
You guessed Dylan to be the
I did. Dylan, I was trying to will that. Yeah,
Dylan the villain versus Indy. So
there we go.
I'm very intent on making Dylan the villain a thing, because that's
Hashtag.
That's kind of, I mean,
it's kind of a vibe.
Bars.
16s.
No, okay. So I do actually have guesses here from Christian and Austin as well. So Christian is going 1-0. He's sticking with Old Faithful this season, the 1-0 for Loco. And he's saying Dylan the villain. And then Austin, who obviously is the reigning champ in our pick'em, he went 2-0 as well. But he went Diego Coin to the moon for 3 straight games with a goal, which will send, Nicholas Murray will be just beside himself. The power rankings won't be able to contain us.
Positions. He takes long positions with his portfolio.
No one's shorting Diego Coin right now. That's for sure.
Don't let Elon Musk get to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh God. Yeah. We're one Elon Musk tweet away from Diego single-handedly like refounding the Super League.
See, if there's anyone that can afford Diego Luna, it is Elon Musk.
Can you imagine? Awesome. Can you imagine Elon Musk like as the chairman of an actual like club? That'd be horrifying.
Yeah,
for everybody involved.
That would be weird.
He'd be like, the crest of Manchester United is now a simple red circle to symbolize redness.
Players getting taken off the field in a Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Self-driving Teslas.
Yeah.
are carting players off the field. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. So obviously now that we're like completely off the rails, we've come towards the end of the episode, but we did have one question that wasn't really related to the review, the match preview, any of that. And that question was from @eBow27, Eric Bauer. He asked, whatever happened to Chiro and Toko? And I mean, it's a valid question. We know that Chiro went out injured at the end of last season with a very serious knee injury. And at his age, it was, I think, like threatening to his career when you suffer an injury like that, when you are further down the line. But do you guys have any like intel, like what happened to Chiro? And then I guess like the larger question is like, why wasn't there more, I guess, fanfare around his departure?
I mean, I think the way that the club handles departures leaves a bit to be desired. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I think Chiro just probably, I mean, no, I don't have any particular insight, but I mean, he was getting on a little bit in age and the injury certainly doesn't help. I'm sure maybe the heat just broke the man and he just wanted to go back to Belgium. I don't know. But I think he's got a special place in our hearts. He's a player that we had a song about, a very popular song among Eighth Notch and other fans. And, I know fans who have personally met him and say what a sweet guy he is. So yeah, it would have been nice to keep him a little bit longer, but I don't know. I guess he just kind of, felt that was the right time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, same here. There really wasn't much intel, much information. The fan base didn't really make much of it either. So I honestly, at one point, even me personally, I was like, hey, like, where did he go? Yep. But yeah, I mean, that's. I feel like that's basically was it like his calling, like, hey, you know what? Like, I think it's time, because there was no announcement of him going to another team. There isn't much on his social media either. He really didn't talk much about it. So I think it was just more of him kind of, humbling himself a little bit and like, hey, it's time to step down.
I know, Mikka, did we see some like photos of him in Paris over the off season? Was that the the like little Instagram
was that him or was that Distel? I don't remember.
I think maybe it was both.
It might have been both. I mean, they're both liable to be stunting out in Paris. I mean,
yeah.
I'm looking at his Instagram right now, and yeah, it was him out there in Paris.
I think we joked about it because we were like, this is that vacation your like ex goes on to show that how well they're doing.
Right, when they're like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Over you. I'm thriving.
Yeah. But no, he obviously earned, he had a long playing career. Transfer mark does show him as being without a club at the moment. So it does seem like he's hung up his boots, but you never know. He could surface somewhere. But like you said, I think he was a fan favorite, club captain, and from the start, a leader for in a team that he helped found for all intents and purposes. A lot of the culture kind of started with him, and I think it's been carried on by players. So, it's just departures are an odd one, and I think the other high profile departure that didn't get the best treatment was Omar Salgado, who, hometown boy, and the way he went out too at kind of the height of how he was playing for us. Like his form was actually, very good, and to go out in a playoff game like he did, extremely disappointing, I know, for him personally, but for it to end, for his tenure with his local team, again, that he was the marquee first signing of, little bit strange. So it is one of those things where the club, obviously there's tons of great things that the club does, and it's not just this general criticism of, like they screwed people over or whatever, but it's just a little bit odd not to treat it as a bigger deal when players like these depart the club. But maybe part of the learning curve, or part of the growing of the culture of this club that needs to take place, and not something, when you don't have years of history, maybe it's just something that isn't really thought of until there's an issue like this, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Hopefully we can get a little bit more, I don't know, just like throw a tweet out or something. Like, yeah, it's strange.
And one of the things I've noticed with the club, and they're starting to get very better at certain things. One of the things that I like stood out to me is now they started taking the photos of the starting 11 on the pitch. And that's something they wouldn't do in the first couple seasons. I mean, from the beginning. And I'm like, I kind of saw this after. I saw little things here and there that are showing a little bit more professionalism after the Adidas contract. Like, that's where I kind of saw a little bit more changes here and there. And maybe something like this will eventually, come up where they give the respect that's earned to these players that, put their all on the pitch.
I do want to give one shout out to the club, because there was a piece of feedback that I had been providing, and I wasn't the only one. I'm not just tooting my own horn here, but there was a piece of feedback that I had been providing, and now they are living up to this. Lineups come out 1 hour before kickoff on the dot. And Kevin knows for sure that we'd be at the game and be like, hey, like, who's playing? Like, we need the lineup. So an hour before kickoff, it's just something that, it's if you go to any, team in Europe, any team like South America, doesn't matter. Like, their lineup is out 1 hour prior to kickoff. And that wasn't always being achieved, but I will say, like, Locos admin is on it this year.
They are, to be fair.
They are hitting it on the head right now, and I have to give them credit, because that lineup, like, I know, when it was 8:00 out here on the East Coast, and I knew at 8 that I got that tweet notification, like, here's the lineup. And so credit where it's due that lineup is prompt these days.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I remember we were there 30 minutes before kickoff, or like, and we were asking around, and then they would come in and like give us a paper and tell, oh yeah, this is who's playing, and we're like, what? Like,
surprise.
but, yeah,
we had the I don't know if you ever, we had like the bib theory with Joe Rodriguez, where we would go out to the concourse and we would see who was warming up like in their jersey versus who was warming up in a bib. And that was how we found out the starting lineup. Like we would just go out there and be like, okay, like he's no bib. So like, okay, that's our starters right there. Yeah, it was just the eye test.
Those and stuff, but that's much anymore. Thankfully.
right.
But yeah, so credit where it's due. They're killing it.
We're
these
on the
days.
come up for sure.
Yeah,
They're doing a really good job. Even down there on the dugouts with the staff and everything, like it's starting to look a little, more professional, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it because it's showing sign that they're looking into the future and that they really, really want to get things done right. So that's really cool.
Well, as we head to the end, Kevin, first off, I just want to thank you for joining us. And if you want to let the good people know where they can find you and find your work, you can go ahead and plug your stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, of course, thank you guys. It's been great. So much fun talking with you guys. Even though if it's through text or whatever it is, being on here is truly awesome. I love it. Yeah, and wherever you guys want to find me on Twitter, it's at @the_KCQ94. Instagram, Facebook, it's at the KCQ Network is where you see all my work related to Locomotive, and of course, all the other teams. And like they mentioned, I am part of El Tri Online, so I do cooperate with them, and we dedicate ourselves to the Mexican national team, Liga MX, and Mexican players that go all across internationally. So big shout out to them, and you'll see some of my work there as well. So feel free to tag me, talk to me, ask me questions, and I'll be more than glad to give a shout out where it's due.
Awesome. Yeah. Always been providing quality stuff on Locomotive, and glad to finally have you on. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, we finally worked it out. So, no, always a pleasure. And yeah, for those of you listening, I hope you enjoyed the episode. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook at Seriously Loco, as I said, and then, yeah, follow us on your favorite podcast platform, like, subscribe, whatever the case may be, and you can get new episodes straight to your device. And yeah, with Colorado Springs coming up, another game at the SWUP, crowd coming out for this one. Saturday game should be a big one, should be fun despite the conditions and the heat. So yeah, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and until next time, stay local.